So at this point, I call my mom and I'm like, Mom, I'm about to sue NYU. And she goes, huh? And I go, yeah. And she goes, what does that mean? I'm like, I'm not really sure, but I'm going to do it. And she goes, okay, are you sure about this? I said, 100%. I file a lawsuit against NYU. I spend the whole summer.
Is this like a do you pay for this? Is this just like, it's pro bono?
They did it for me. The lawyers were pro bono. Okay. And I did not ask for any money at all in my suit or in my settlement.
Right.
The only thing I wanted was policy change. I wanted them to include anti-Semitism in their policies. Right. So I went through with it, spent the whole summer making publicity. I spoke literally everywhere, wherever I can get. Got New York Times. I also got Fox. I did everything I could. Front page of the New York Post op-ed section, which is really fun.
How did you get that hustle of like getting on the attention of these organizations? What was the MO for that?
So pretty much I was already working with a lot of the organizations while I was on campus. There were a ton of Jewish organizations that wanted to swoop in there. And usually when outside orgs swoop into a college campus, they make it worse for the students. And I was really like, I had them whipped. I was like, okay, here's what we're actually going to do. I would have calls once every 2 weeks. And I would say, you only speak through these calls. You do not take action unless I authorize it. And I was like, what was I, 21? And every organization was just like, okay, because it was refreshing for them to hear from a student what the student actually needs. So by the time I actually decided to settle my suit, I told each organization what I needed from them, and they all invited me to speak at their conferences. So everything worked out well. I had positioned myself like in the place where this could work.
Did you have like a mentor guiding you through it, or this was all self?
Kind of. I didn't
motivated
have
and
self-motivated.
Managed.
I had a couple of different mentors. I think all of them came from different places. I had some people who were very like bootstraps, like, go, let's do it. Let's do the school. And I had a lot of people who were like, hey, we should think about this. And, the same mentor who told me not to publish that letter, he was also a mentor of mine throughout all of this. And when I told him I was going to sue NYU, he basically told me I was setting off a nuclear bomb and walking away. He's like, you don't even know what you're doing to the school. You're about to graduate. You don't even know. Like, we have it so good here. We have a kosher cafeteria. We have a campus in Tel Aviv. The school's always going to support us. Who cares if some students burn some flag? And I was like, I care. I care. The students care, because the issue isn't a policy issue. It's a conduct issue. Why is it that there is no statement made when our flags burned on campus? Why is it that there's no actions taken against the 2 students that were arrested by NYPD for what they did to my community? Why is it that I can't do that to anyone else? Because I would never do that to anyone else.
We got to sue somebody, Michael Fox. I'm just saying.
Ooh, I'll be your lawyer.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
I can advocate.
Right on the steps.
But yeah, I'll wrap it up because I know that
Mike and Ami actually feel very. I like this. This is good. We'll talk later about that strategy for that play. But anyway, so it's all coming together.
It's all
You're
coming
going
together.
through with it.
I'm going through with it. I'm speaking at every conference. And one day I look at my phone and I see restricted Washington, D.C. And I'm like, huh. And I pick up my phone and I go, hello. And they're like, hi, Adela. And I'm like, hi. And they're like, it's the White House. And I was like, huh. They're like, are you expecting our call? I was like, yes. I was not. What?
Hello, Donnie.
Yeah. And they tell me, I was talking to one of the representatives from the White House.
He
and
called
they
you
say,
Kojab for sure. There's no way he got the
No.
Kojab. Very good. A strong jab.
I said it's an H. I literally said just put it as an H. So he said it right. You can watch the video. I'm proud of my guy. Proud of my dude. He's not my dude. But bottom line, they said the president, Donald Trump at the time, had heard about my lawsuit, and it would be his honor if I would speak about it on stage with him.
The president at the time?
At the time. He is no longer the president. Is that controversial to say?
I'm just making sure.
Well,
no, Michael, the current president and president always.
Wait, but it's controversial on both ends because people on the left that deny his presidency was legitimate, he wouldn't be the president at the time. And then
we all agree at the time he was the president.
I said a controversial statement that's going to make everyone angry.
Now, forever and always, Don, your president. Kojab, fantastic. Great job. Really, this was just prompted, what, from
they did their research and were like, this is a good person to speak
at what was it?
IAC. Yeah, so pretty much
which is, for the folks who don't follow any of this stuff,
Israeli American Committee.
Right.
That
having
Trump
an event,
was
a conference,
at.
He was speaking and wanted to bring you in for giving this.
To be fair, I was already speaking on a panel at that same event.
Right. So there was some connective tissue to it.
Yeah, there was some connective tissue. I'd already been in touch with, other organizations that work with him. But bottom line, I agree. And I thought about it for a while. And everyone says, like, how'd you end up on stage with him? Why did you end up on stage with him? Why did you agree? Number one, I told his staff on the phone, I said, I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm not a green card holder. I've been here for 22 years.
Perfect. It's going to play so well.
Yeah. They said, we're aware. And I said, I don't give any pre-written speeches. They said, great, just keep it under 2 minutes and run us through what you're going to say. And that was pretty much it. I was like, okay. And then I started thinking about it. Do I want to do this? Right. And then I started thinking, okay, if the president of Mexico, who I do not respect, who I don't think is a strong leader, who I think is responsible for sorrow and death and suffering, and has put the Mexican people back by a lot by being a thief and a liar, and it doesn't even matter. But if he called me tomorrow and he said, anti-Semitism's an issue, can you come speak about it on stage with me? I would take that platform.
And you're saying the conflicts in you resided in like Trump's statements about being speaking very inartfully and sloppily about immigration and Mexicans in general and that kind of thing. Is that what was pulling at you? Or was it just that Trump is a very divisive figure and to be in that association, like what is pulling at you?
Or you didn't want the image of you on stage with him just to be out there?
Yeah, that's, you know what it was? I was
Libertarians
afraid.
can go both ways on Trump. I mean, in some ways.
It can go both ways. Well, and it did go both ways. But it was more like the idea of is speaking on stage with him endorsement. Not necessarily about any individual policy, but to the naked eye, being on stage with President Trump is an endorsement. Yeah. And that's what I was worried about. And then the more I thought about it, the more I realized how crazy that is.
Because you know where you stand, and anybody with a mature enough mind can say, listen, they're on the same stage. There's a singular issue that she's there for. It's the office of the presidency, too. And whether or not Trump respects it as much as he should or whoever, you respect it. You maintain your respect for it. The platform is there to vote, to add a lot of it, to amplify this issue.
Yeah. It's easier to say that in 2023 than it was.
There was a time.
It was like pretty red hot.
And this is 2019.
It's easier to say, no, I like Trump. Like, for someone to say anything about Trump fondly now, then there was a time. I lived in LA, you know, and people would be like, he's worse than Hitler. You'd be like, I hear you. You know? Yeah. And you could be like you were forced to, in a way, back in the day, you were forced to defend Trump when you weren't a supporter of Trump.
You weren't a supporter. Yeah,
but you have
to
be like,
bring things
he's
center.
Not a pedophile. No, he's a pedophile. Okay, he's many things. He's not a pedophile.
Yeah.
You know, even like the white nationalist claims about Trump, the things that they would say like was very like crying wolf. Like there were many, many things to criticize Trump about. We've talked about it a little bit, but it's like if you go crazy and say things that he isn't, then you're putting people in a position to sort of defend him by seeing things a little more objectively when they aren't, when they otherwise could be detractors. That was the big problem during his presidency. Like it was so extreme and binary and like, you know, this is your choice. Like either he's the worst person in the world or the best person in the world. Either you're a Trumpkin or you're anti-Trump or a never Trumper, you know, and it was like there was no in between because you know, you were just like measured on how much, you know, how if you're leaning, you're all the way.
Yeah.
And for me as an outsider, right, I can't vote. So it's a very interesting for me to see the way that American politics has worked out over the last 10 years, right? From when I started college, which was the 2016 election, right? I came in fall 2015 to now. It's a different America because of the way that people interact with each other. And weirdly enough, like you said, now it's kind of getting back to a sense of normalcy. And I think it's because Trump was out of the stage. But now he's about to hop back into the stage, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm not going to turn this into political commentary right now. But bottom line, I do end up on stage with President Trump. I do end up speaking about my lawsuit. I do keep it
a beautiful lawsuit.
I've seen them all.
I can.
And then 3 days later, I get a call from the White House that he was going to sign an executive order effective immediately that day to include Judaism under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act.
Wow.
Now I'll explain what the actual.
How's your libertarian
that's
self
a
feel
thing.
about that? Because I get asked by my left leaning friends, "Hey, Alma, you're a libertarian. You think they should ban hate speech on campus?" I'm like, I guess not.
So
in principle.
Ooh. Well, first off, for everyone listening, we got to the thing, right? I ended up meeting Donald Trump. I changed the law on a national level. What did the executive order actually do? It didn't expand Title VI, which is how it was presented to me. It was going to do. It actually extended the definition of Judaism. So instead
That's what the executive order did?
Yes.
Well, maybe executive orders shouldn't be able to do law.
Yeah, I agree. Instead, it extended the definition of Judaism to be an ethno-religion, so now it falls under ethnicity, under Title VI, among other things. Now.